Star Wars: The Old Republic is still thriving after 12 years and is one of the most iconic MMOs to ever release. Set in one of the most iconic, but sadly poorly utilized sci-fi universes to ever exist. Disney. This is an MMO that almost gave WoW a run for its money. It's one of the best, if not the best written RPG, at least for the first 50 levels. So, let's dive into the Plague Master, Flesh Cannibal Babies, Sith Dance-Offs, Sith Death-Offs, and virtual Twi'lek strippers that I'd get to enjoy if Kaizen would get the fuck out of the way. So welcome to Star Wars: The Old Republic. To start off, BioWare launched this incredible RPG and mediocre MMO back in December 2011, and it launched to interesting fanfare, almost 2 million active subscribers, a lot of bugs, and a rather disappointing endgame, which led to its demise. It's currently being run by Broadsword, a company with the hit MMO you guys have probably heard of, Dark Age of Camelot, and Ultima Online. They're essentially a retirement home for MMOs, but they've actually done a rather good job with SWTOR by keeping content coming, letting the game live, breathe, and actually, I'd say flourish, but that's not the right word in this context. It's the exact same team from BioWare, just smaller and under new management. But it cannot be worse than EA. With all that aired out the way, you cannot have an MMO without a character creator, and SWTOR's character creator is great. As a free-to-play player, like I do with all of these series, you're gonna be a bit limited, and you do have to earn things even if you are subscribed. But the base level of customization and the class and the skill sets you can choose are smooth, they feel modern. Now, it's Star Wars, so you gotta pick a side. You got the Sith Empire and you got the Galactic Republic, and this time I went Republic because last time I was a good Sith. So this time I'm also a good Sith. I do want to give SWTOR one thing, and this is just a ginormous W as far as things go. You have a huge variety in class and specs and how you want to play the game. If you pick Jedi Knight, you have access to all the specs for Jedi Knight, Jedi Consular, Sith Inquisitor, and Sith Warrior. You pick a level 1, and then there are more abilities and ways to play that open up at higher levels. So me, I picked Jedi Consular, and the skill set I picked was Sith Warrior. The reason that's fitting is because I am quite literally a Sith pureblood. That's a Jedi Consular. Diplomatic, kind, caring, with a tinge of the SS, just a tinge of bad boy. Now, like I said, I'm a good Sith who's going to be helping the Republic, and a good Sith deserves a name that arouses zero suspicion. Plus, welcome, Eben Not Sith. But before I discuss the story and gameplay of the Jedi Consular, I need to say that SWTOR is a genuine, and I mean this, genuine spiritual successor to the amazing RPGs KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2. It has some of the best storytelling in literally any video game format. And honestly, as a Star Wars fan itself, SWTOR is better than most comics, most games, and it's better than anything Disney has put out in the past decade, hand over fist. Maybe not counting Rogue One. Rogue One was pretty amazing. Some of the animated shows have been pretty good, but it is what it is. So rest in peace, BioWare. You were amazing. Before EA gassed at the entire industry, the live service was the way to go, and then dismantled BioWare. You know what you should dismantle? That subscribe button. So go and hit that. Look, I'm a Sith. I need the vanity points. Big Chungus arrives at Tython to be good with the knowledge, and I'm one of the most powerful Jedi to be born in decades. And honestly, I'm a Sith. My dad was probably also a Sith, so the fact that I'm a Jedi probably means I'm an abomination of the Force, but on the side of good. And this is later proved right by the fact that my Master Yuan, who quite literally states, and I'm reading here, a Padawan who was stronger in the Force at 4 years old than I was at 15. And looking at Eben Not Sith, I must have been a 4 foot tall goddamn baby. So let's take a look at my family genealogy and look at this family tree. And based off what I'm seeing here, I am my own grandson and my own grandfather at the exact same time. And considering I'm a pure blood Sith, this makes perfect sense. That's why I've got that Habsburg chin right there. So anyways, I guess I have to deal with flesh raiders, cannibals. They eat flesh. Now, the journey on Tython is full of a lot of interesting quests, both main and a variety of the side quests. And in this context, I gotta say, sometimes being light side Sith feels like the evil option. Like being good feels evil because of the Jedi bullshittery. Peace of the mind, prosperity. I had to choose to let 2 Padawan love each other or rat them out to their master. And after talking to the Jedi Padawan, I'm not even gonna lie, I started to want to rat on them. I wanted to do the good option, which is the evil option, because how annoying these 2 Padawan were. Or another one where this Jedi Master sent his Padawan to meditate at a rock for eternity until the young kid reach inner peace. He was meant to fail. Reaching inner peace was not meant to be achievable. Not at this stage of his meditation and his training. He was sent there to learn to persevere. Because through perseverance, you'll learn strength. This is like some Sith master saying, go dig a mountain until you make a cave. Like, what? Nonetheless, long story short, I went through a lot of questing on Tython to defeat a Twi'lek Giga Chad called Naylan Rallock who brute forced the Force. Haha, very funny pun, Eben. And unlocked the power of the dark side. So I beat his ass blue and then forced him to become a Jedi because no punishment is worse than that. And thus, we were sent to Coruscant. And it's here that I went on a little side tangent to a flashpoint. Now, I'll discuss the flashpoint, otherwise known as SWTOR's dungeons, later in the video. But I do want to discuss the story here. I'm not even gonna lie, the Republic deserves to end. These individuals are a representation of democracy, and shit's terrible. Dealing with Republic diplomats, terrible military captain. I end up in a Sith off with a non-pureblood Sith because I'm the better Sith. So I out-Sith them and I kill them as I should do against a rival Sith. Anyways, long story short, we at the same time learn Master Yuan is ill with a Jedi plague of some sort. And then that's Tython finished. Coruscant has a lot of quests, like pretty much an obscene amount of quests, but most people likely only do the main story quest and the planetary quests because those are the two main ones you do on every planet or the complete story. The planetary quest is the planet's quest line that all four classes of the Republic and the Empire share. On Coruscant, the Republic has the Coruscant planetary quest, and on Dromund Kaas, the Empire has the Dromund Kaas planetary quest. On shared planets, both sides have different planetary quests. So for example, on Alderaan, the Sith and the Republic both have completely different quest lines. Now, the planetary quests are incredible storytelling and are considered part of the main story of the base game experience, and it's essentially heavily recommended that everybody partake in this at least once on one character. Talking about the side quests are just as immaculate. Now, they're a tad lower in quality, but that's not to say they're bad. For example, I had an overbearing boyfriend try to get me to rescue his significant other who was being forced to be a stripper. But he was wrong. She willingly became Andrew Tate's OnlyFans model because she was tired of dating a broke-ass man under 6 foot and wanted a better life. And being a stripper paid drastically more than they had before. Yes, this is an actual quest line. In fact, at the strip club, Kaizen cock-blocked me saying, in his guttural tongue, I'm translating, the Force would not approve. We have to save your master, not stare at titties. Clock's ticking. Kaizen griefed me a lot of times, for example, talking from 17 floors below the current floor I was on, disrupting my immersion is another one. We get back to the main story, and this is where it's juicy. See, the Republic is a bit of an empire problem, and the Jedi have a lot of problems. Have you ever heard the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise? It's not a story the Jedi will tell you, because he has not been born yet. But we have the Plague Master. No, not Darth Plagueis, but his Team U cousin. And we have to hunt down a way to save Master Yuan and all the other Jedi that he's inflicting across the galaxy. So I'm gonna stop spoiling the story here. Every single class in Star Wars Republic is a game in and of itself. Now, you can't have an MMO without leveling, and SWTOR has its good and its bad. In the grand scheme of things, it's a mostly free-to-play MMO, so when you hit level 20, you get 25% reduced XP for not being a subscriber. For those of you who have subscribed in the past and are preferred members, this does not matter. You have to subscribe to get the 25% extra XP. The game does give you a lot of XP boosts just for playing, and these are 25% XP boosts for 3 hours. Like, they drop like candy, so it's not even a big deal at all. And with how fast the leveling is, it really doesn't matter whatsoever. But all in all, this was a very smooth experience with me being level 24 by the end of Coruscant after only doing the main quest, the planetary quest, with a grand total of 1 flashpoint, 2 heroic quests, and 3 side quests. For people who are looking to enjoy the world and all the side quests, you can very likely leave Coruscant at level 30 if you wanted to, if I'm being realistic. To put that into perspective, back in the day when the game launched, after doing every story quest, every planetary quest, the dungeon, every side quest and heroic quest, you would be maybe level 17, maybe level 18 depending on the grinding you did, and that's if we're being generous. To further put into perspective, the next 2 planets in your main story progression are level 16 to 20 at Taris, and then 20 to 24 at Nar Shaddaa. I'm already at the max base level for Nar Shaddaa, 2 planets of questing later. Without even trying too hard, just enjoying myself casually, as I do try to emulate these videos from the perspective of someone trying the game for the first time, it's an incredibly fun and freeing experience. It's like a really good RPG, and choosing story mode as your difficulty option, which can be a bit of a con if you enjoy a sense of challenge. But like for the most part, even with the heroic quest, there's no difficulty to the game whatsoever, even in Flashpoint, which we'll cover on later again. There isn't a threat of danger in the basic difficulty options. Leveling is typically easier in a lot of free-to-play games because the difficulty scales rapidly to high levels in endgame systems, and they want you to spend money, so they want you to get to max level, feel invested, and then start spending cash money. And because of this, for a new player or returning player, Star Wars The Old Republic has never been better. The storytelling is top-notch, it's immaculate. Again, I've repeated this point so many times, my bad. It's one of the best stories ever told with a relatively frustration-free experience. Now, let's talk about the game itself. There's this thing called the Legacy system, which allows you to level up your account to unlock account-wide boons, buffs, bonuses, and more to make the game easier for your ult. You can level your Legacy by simply playing the game. Me, I had a well-leveled Legacy, but I choose not to actually use it this time around like I did in my last video from 2023, because for all the boons that my Legacy provided, not one of it was necessary to level fast. And on top of that, gearing is incredibly fast, it's hassle-free. Every heroic quest you do, which used to require 2 people but can be solo for the most part now, gives you great gear hand over fist. You can also get outfits which you can put in modules to upgrade your gear so you don't have to replace it every few levels, and you can buy this at your fleet. But you can't talk gameplay without talking about the amazing companion system in SWTOR. It's phenomenal, and it's one of the best parts of the game because each class gets 5 companions. You get way more with the expansions and stuff later on, but I'm talking about the first 50 levels here. They've all got their own personal storylines and abilities. You're also given the option to choose from the following specs: healer, tank, or DPS for your companions to do whatever you're lacking. So Kaizen was the healer for me, but if you're a healer, you can have a tank or a DPS as your companion. Now, I do need to say that when it comes to convenience, quick travel. Holy shit, it's amazing. Imagine playing World of Warcraft. Instead of having to fly back and forth, you just got to click on the flight master and teleport there. That's essentially what Star Wars The Old Republic has. It used to have a 25-minute cooldown back on launch, so you actually have to run back and forth across the map, and these planets are massive, I'm gonna be honest with you. So you know that meme from your dad? Back in my day, I had to walk across the map, uphill, both ways, through a mountain of flesh-eating cannibals and back. Despite the convenience, it did make me appreciate the world less and just quick travel back and forth everywhere. So if you're a new player, don't quick travel. Actually explore the world. Live it, breathe it, enjoy it. It's a gorgeous universe. Talking about experiences that are unique, PvP was not it. PvP was, it's fun. You have the 3 basic PvP systems. You got war zones, your large player v player game mode, you got arena, smaller tactical combat, and then Starfighter, where you pilot a ship and try to dominate space. There's also level scaling to even out the playing field. Everyone is level scaled to 80, but that doesn't quite make the game fair because there's only really 2 kinds of PvPers in SWTOR. Oh, I want to queue up for a PvP game. I've got some time to kill. This'll be fun. And
it's born in PvP. I live and breathe this. This is, for me, you are just a visitor in my dark universe.
So nonetheless, PvP in Star Wars The Old Republic is genuinely a fun experience, but that's only if you can actually get into a game. I spent 10 hours in queue. That's across several days, but that's insane to me. In fact, I got disconnected from the game while in queue for Starfighter. Like, my bad for waiting for 20 minutes to get a queue to pop and not moving my character. Just kick me out of the game. Like, and now I gotta wait the 20 minutes all over again from the beginning. Regardless, your mileage may vary. You may have a better experience than I did with these queue times. Maybe it's just when I queued up. But like I said, talking about PvP, I might not be the best PvPer, but I'm also not the best Starfighter. And I'm not going to lie, picking up an MMO that I've played on and off for over a decade, my skills mediocre at best. Like, I didn't get stomped, but like, I wasn't doing great. But the PvP is entertaining, and the exhilarating side experience that it's worth trying at least every now and then. Dabble a bit, dip your toes in the PvP. You might like it. You may be good. You may be absolute dog shit. The only way to find out is to try. As Master Yoda once said, there is no try, only do. Now pass ketamine, you will. So with a bit of ket through the system, let's talk about SWTOR's combat. And this might come as a shock to some of you. Like, you may never have heard of this before, but it's a basic tap target MMO experience with the Star Wars The Old Republic flavor. This is the same across the entire MMO genre, not counting a few outliers like BDO and New World. Like, it's not boring, it's just basic. But it's incredibly fun, especially if they've now gone out of their way to update and modernize gameplay. Being able to pick any class or spec makes for some really fun adventuring and combat loop. Being a big, stealthy, 8-foot Sith that can stealth, That's also really fun. Like, being given the option to play how you want is one of the coolest things that the devs could have done for the game, and it's really opened the game up. Now, being honest, if you're just playing for the story, you're probably going to be using 8, maybe 10 abilities from 1 to 80, and that's fine. It feels smooth. It is smooth, but it's basic combat. At the highest level, though, like doing the endgame operations, the rating equivalent in WoW and high-end PvP, it's going to require way more abilities, mapping your keybinds, mental knowledge. You're going to have a Shift X, Shift 1X, Shift C, Shift V, V, F, G, H, Shift 1, Alt 1, Control Shift 1. You're going to have all those abilities mapped out. Not me, I didn't do any of that. I'm an average player. I was just button mashing. You know, that's all I did. And the final thing about the gameplay loop is being given a full regen your health to full off the combat button is by far one of the favorite things in SWTOR. Like, literally just hit the seethe button and just start yelling into the sky till I'm back in full health. Fuck these flesh cannibal babies! Ah! Then you're at full health. Yeah, anyways, apologies for the ear bleeding. Profession. In Star Wars or Republic, professions are pretty simple. No, really, like you have your crafting and your gathering professions and your companions essentially do it for you. Now, it is drastically more important at a higher level, but it's still a fun little side tangent at the lower levels. Like, it's an interesting system, and I can't really say much here. I would say it's an overall net negative because it's a very hands-off approach to a very important system of an MMO's core gameplay loop. Housing, though? Whew! Housing in Star Wars Republic is amazing, and you have these massive estates across the galaxy. Coupled that with the amount of insane things you can do to make your home feel like a home, something most of us will never experience in real life. In fact, my own home from when I played back in the day was staunchly middle class, I'd say. You know what? I'm feeling fancy. Oh, upper middle class, because I'm not like you peasants. By housing, cosmetics, and mounts, they're all very similar, if not identical to real life. Most people are renting an apartment, no furniture, driving a Toyota Galaxy faraway Camry 35,000, and then some people spend hard cash to dress up in Trucy. That sounds real bad, I'm not gonna lie. And Balenciaga. Drive the Sithari. These are really terrible puns, I'm not gonna lie. Look, I'm gonna give Star Wars credit where credit is due. The game gives you plenty of free cosmetics, mounts, and housing stuff just by playing the game. But some of the most gorgeous housing, like mounts, cosmetics, furniture, that shit's in the end game, so you're gonna pay up money. But if you love the game and you roleplay and roleplay, you know what I mean? Spend the money. Enjoy your mansion. Enjoy it. Now we're going to move on to the meat and bones of an MMO. We've got operations and flashpoints, otherwise known as raids and dungeons. Now, I do these videos from the perspective of a free-to-play player, and what you can really accomplish within your first 50 to 100 hours of playtime. So I didn't really have the time to fully explore and delve into these as much as I'd like. Yet I was able to do a lot of dungeons solo, and it's a great feature. Amazing. Because it lets you experience pretty much a lot of these story dungeons without needing a group. Because I'm not sure if you guys have noticed this, but in a lot of MMOs, people just blitz through everything. And I think like MMOs in every game. Fuck your learning and fun experience. We're trying to go, 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 go. Let's go, buddy. Come on, come on. Being able to do this shit solo is an amazing experience for a lot of people who just, you want to experience the dungeon and the storytelling. And maybe you just don't want to play with people and you want to take your time going to a dungeon. It gives you all of that, and it's a phenomenal experience. The flashpoints are incredibly fun, the storylines in them are entertaining and make you care about the location and the reasons, and the queue times for finding groups is for the most part incredibly fast, like unlike the PvP counterpart. Plus the fact that they're fully voice acted, you can have an impact on the outcome, makes it feel quite rewarding. The story is really well done and incredibly smooth experience, giving you whiplash, satisfaction, anger, frustration, and that's even the very first flashpoint. They only really get better and better. Now, when it comes to operations, I cannot say as much as I'd like about them because I did not get my new character to the point of being able to run an operation. From what I've seen and done in the past, it's a fun game mode that is difficult to get into due to most competent guilds being closed off and plugging being questionable at best. Thankfully though, there are plenty, and I mean this. There is so many guilds recruiting and are happy to teach, help you, and get you ready to run operations with them. Due to there being like a lack of new blood to the game, you will have an easy enough time finding a good guild to clear operations if you're dedicated. If you want to do them, you will find a community. And this is the part where the pitchforks come out, the dreaded cons. As Lord Farquaad would say, some of you may not like this, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Because these are my opinions at the end of the day. The PvP, much like the last time I came back to SWTOR in 2023, it's very unbalanced. There's no real equal battles. One side dumps to the others, completely and utterly. The funniest part of PvP is winning a close game and a rough game. And you don't really get that in SWTOR. Like, Stomping is fun initially, but it gets boring rather fast. Like if you're just gonna queue in and get stomped or stomped, like what's the point in playing? And just to verify that it wasn't just bad luck on one character, I played about 15-20 games spread across a wide level range and multiple characters. It's the same on all of them. It was the same last time. I don't know how long it's been the same for. I'm sure your mileage may vary depending on who you play with, when you play, things of that nature, and I don't have the hugest sample size, but that was my experience. But I don't even care about the PvP quality. The biggest downside is the queue times. I'm not gonna lie, getting disconnected while waiting for a game to pop. Sure, I could have moved around a bit, but I wanted the PvP, so I waited to PvP. Now, certain days and hours are better, but it's an incredibly frustrating experience to try to queue up for a Starfighter and be waiting for 45-60 minutes to maybe get into a game. Hopefully you didn't AFK out. Now, I'm a boomer ass dad, so it's a good thing for me. Like long wait times mean I can get up, go do things around the house, come back, move my mouse, and just wait for the queue to pop, but it's bad for the game. It's just bad for the game. But that's enough shitting on PvP. A bit ago, I praised the housing and guild system, and as I said, it's phenomenal. Like the guild starships and all that, and then you have your player housing. That shit is amazing, but it's incredibly expensive. As a 100% brand new player, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, I don't know how hard it would be to deck out your apartment. If it would even be feasible, because I've got a legacy, hundreds of millions of credits, and multiple once maxed out characters, but once upon a time. Even my shitty Drummond cast penthouse was feeling pretty and very stacked. It's a far cry from what other people actually have. And I've got thousands of hours in the game over the past decade. I assume for a new player, it would be outright impossible to get a nice looking apartment in a short period of time. Now, if you put hundreds of hours or thousands of hours and this becomes your main game, easy peasy. If you're playing for 200-300 hours, you're probably shit out of luck. But the final major problem is that whilst the game was alive and full of plays everywhere, it has the retail WoW vibe where unless you're in a guild with a Discord and community, the game feels dead. It feels soulless is the best way to put it. And it's absolutely not. There are tons of guilds with active and thriving communities, but sadly I, with my teensy tiny, I barely started the game 55 hours on my latest return to SWTOR, did not get into one of the said community. Now to be fair, I didn't try super hard either. So as a new player, if you do try, you're gonna find a pleasant home. Like they're gonna be there. Or maybe it's gonna be dark, sad, and full of isolation. Who knows? You'll find out. But the cons do not take away from the fact that Broadsword, despite having the smaller budget and team, has not actually fully sunset Star Wars The Old Republic. It's not amazing, there's not like a huge amount of content coming, they're not doing like massive planets and whole new arcs, but they are still creating content. Even if a lot of it is store stuff, so you can buy new cosmetics and tie-ins with the relevant media, they're still adding content. But sadly, the game is kind of dead. No matter what Broadsword does, it's just a bit sad to play. And for clarification standpoint, the game probably still averages 30,000 to 75,000 unique monthly players. It's still a big game by most standards compared to most other, like, games. But for an MMO, in people's minds, that doesn't fit the massive and massively multiplayer online role-playing game. And for some reason, if a game doesn't have 300,000 to 500,000 plus players, it's a dead game. And that's the stereotype. I don't make stereotypes. I do enforce them, but I don't make them. So once people believe a game is dead, there's kind of no recovery from that spiral for the most part, and SWTOR is not exempt from that. It's been bleeding out players over the years for a very long time. There's a reason EA sold it. They made billions off of SWTOR, and then they got rid of it because the profit versus keeping and maintaining and making content for it wasn't worth it. They took their billions, they extracted it, and then they sold it. I do hope that everyone at least once in their life gives Star Wars The Old Republic a chance, and try out the main storylines of as many classes as you can. There are very, very few games, and I've said this several times in the video, that have this level of writing, because this is a straight slam dunk in terms of old BioWare writing, back when they were the king of RPGs. It's the kind of storytelling that I wish more modern games had. Hey, maybe Larian will make an MMO someday. And whilst there's plenty of content here for new players, new and returning players, I should clarify, I don't really see this becoming many people's new MMO. I do see it becoming a vacation house for a little bit, but this game is on the downward trend, despite how amazing it is. Thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Dislike and subscribe so you can hit my next essay as well. You can see another MMO essay right here, as well as right here. These are all amazing, so if you do like this, subscribe and like it, and then watch one of these. If you hated my content, understandable. Dislike, and then go watch one of these, and then dislike that too after you watch the whole thing. Thank you all, Ebonhard out. Peace.